Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today we are unpacking some absolutely fascinating research from Happywise called Haste and Quality Thinking. We're going to explore exactly why that chronic, everyday rushing we all seem to be doing is literally destroying our most valuable cognitive skills. If you've ever felt like you're constantly running just to stay in the exact same place, well, this one is definitely for you. You know, in so many of our professional environments today, we've developed this kind of strangely toxic habit. We really have to take a step back and ask ourselves, are we actually productive or are we just busy? Because we so often equate saying, oh, I'm absolutely swamped with being indispensable. It's like it's become this weird badge of honor, right? But as we'll see, that constant feeling of always being behind is actually a massive trap. It creates this total illusion of efficiency, and it completely ruins the actual quality of our thinking when we are under pressure. It's basically the classic hamster wheel scenario. Think about organizations where rushing is just the accepted norm. Professionals there end up producing a massive amount of output. They're doing a lot. But here is the critical catch. They are aiming blindly. Because of that constant rush, they systematically avoid the really complex projects and the deep, reflective questions that actually move the needle. So you get a whole lot of movement, but not necessarily in the right direction. To really get why this happens, we need to look at the science behind Daniel Kahneman's two parallel thinking systems. System 1 is fast, it's automatic, and it's activated by urgency. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, deliberate, and highly analytical. Now, that second system is exactly the one we desperately need to solve complex, novel problems. But here's the problem. When time pressure completely consumes our cognitive resources, we get totally stuck in System 1. We completely lock out that deliberate System 2 analysis that high-level, impactful work actually requires. And what's truly wild here is how our own brains kind of betray us in this process. This chronic haste is made so much worse by something called the planning fallacy. Basically, it's a systematic error where we consistently underestimate how long tasks are going to take. And why does that happen? Because we only ever picture these highly optimistic, perfect scenarios with absolutely zero interruptions. We mentally plan for this ideal day, and then, you guessed it, we spend our actual days frantically rushing around just trying to catch up to reality. So the real kicker here is that this isn't just some simple mental scheduling oopsie. It physically impacts us. Scientific research from experts like Barlow and Sapolsky proves that this cognitive trap carries massive emotional and physical costs. Having too little time creates this deep anxiety. That anxiety feels a perceived urgency, which forces us to accelerate what we're doing, and then that just triggers a whole new wave of anxiety. It traps our bodies in this crazy, self-sustaining biological loop of chronic stress and reactive aggression. All this speed drains us across 4 distinct dimensions. Obviously, it drains our mental energy. It strips away our ability to see those non-obvious connections. But, and this is super profound, drawing on Viktor Frankl's incredible work, it also consumes our spiritual energy. Think about it. When we're always rushing, we stop pausing to ask why. And without that critical reflection, our work devolves into this empty execution that is just completely devoid of meaning. Okay, so how do we actually escape this dangerous cycle? Well, we have to look to Dwight Eisenhower's famous matrix. This clean, simple framework is literally our key out of the trap. We absolutely have to stop optimizing our days purely for urgency because, let's face it, not everything urgent is important, and not everything important is actually urgent. We need to start systematically defending the time required for what is genuinely important. Now, for anyone out there thinking, yeah, but the market doesn't wait, remember this. Real speed comes from clarity. Jim Collins did this amazing research on high-performing organizations, and it shows that the absolute best companies aren't just universally fast all the time. Instead, they reach absolute clarity on exactly which decisions require deep reflection and which ones actually require speed. They pause to think. And only after they achieve that clarity do they shift into rapid execution.
So how do we practically do this in our own lives? Psychologist Tara Brach developed this concept called the sacred pause, and it offers some incredibly concrete solutions. It's all about creating intentional spaces between a stimulus and your response. That might mean taking just 30 seconds before firing back a reply to a super irritating email. Or it could mean deliberately walking for 5 minutes between meetings instead of, sprinting down the hall. It's about practicing intentional role transitions, and the research strongly shows this leads to much, much less reactive decision-making.
The science of happiness backs this all up with 4 pillars to combat our chronic hurry. First, it requires being, practicing genuine presence so we can intercept those automatic habits. Second, it demands discipline, like intentionally multiplying your time estimates by 1.5 just to build in a realistic buffer.
Third, we have to focus on the we, shifting our shared organizational culture away from this implicit panic mode. And ultimately, doing all this creates positive chemistry, intentionally resetting our biology so we can finally exit that damaging emergency mode.
Reclaiming your time through a sacred pause is not about losing ground to your competitors. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It's an incredibly powerful, deliberate, strategic choice. It's about deciding exactly which ground you want to play on. You're consciously choosing who you are as a professional, rather than just endlessly reacting to whatever random fires happen to pop up today. So, as we wrap up this explainer and you head into your very next task, I really want you to ask yourself, are you going to remain trapped in the exhausting illusion of efficiency, or will you claim your sacred pause, choose your ground, and actually embrace the deliberate rhythm of quality thinking? Because that choice, and the profound clarity that follows, is entirely yours.